listening to The Weekly Chaos, a gaming news podcast brought to you by The Offbeet.
Hi.
And myself, Yaslanagrey, where each week we go over the changes, mishaps, and news from the gaming industry. This week we have an exceptionally large amount of things to cover because whoever wants a quiet week. So we've got bits about the Nintendo Direct, we've got things about Unity, we've got up-and-coming games that are being cancelled and moved around and all kinds of fun stuff. We've got more things to talk about Starfield, and if I had to guess, Offbeat, you want to start off with 19 inches of Sephiroth.
Oh, you know me so well. The world's a bag of dicks and I'm a professional sucker.
It's gotten a little bit ridiculous. I hold up. I have it here somewhere. It's right next to the Square Enix news, which makes it that one. There. The main thing that I want to know is why they decided a $350 collector edition of a remake was the required price tag here.
Well, I mean, I feel that there's only one potential segue to follow this particular article up on with what we're going to be discussing. But overall, it boils down to the fact that Square Enix has always had an issue with overpricing their shit.
You know what's really funny about though?
What?
Well, Square Enix is also losing money.
exactly what I was talking about. Like, because they have apparently lost $2 billion in the last quarter.
Yeah.
And with no one thinking that they have the chance to make it back. Like it's too far gone. And shares are down like 30%, as stated in the article.
Yeah.
And obviously they're really wanting to tighten up their production and figure out how to start making more money so that they can, stop being in the hole so bad. And obviously they think that, from what I understand, they're deciding that they want to focus on first party titles first and foremost. Like they're not wanting to take bets on these side games that came out of nowhere. Like for instance, Forspoken, which was an absolute commercial failure.
Yeah, right.
And I want to say that first, like as I said, like freaking Square Enix, first and foremost, they overpriced fucking everything when it comes to merch. Like they have necklaces on their website for over $100. But I would also like to say that there's a strong chance that they're just pricing it this high, hoping that people bite just to kind of fill that profit margin. And
the worst part is we know for a fact that people are going to.
There are people that will. But quite frankly, like I've read through the contents that are in this collector's edition between like a soundtrack, an art book, and some DLCs and such. If you can't prove to me that in the development, like in the actual making process, give me a goddamn point to point video on how that resin statue is made. If you can't prove to me that thing's worth $200, this is not a valid price point.
Yeah. I mean, look, it is 19 inches of the prettiest angel known to mankind.
And the wing comes off.
Oh, hey. So it goes from being like questionably shaped with a problem to just questionably shaped. Like,
right. But
yeah,
you literally have to prove to me that the statue alone is worth $200. Otherwise, this whole thing is not worth $350.
Yeah, like it would have to be the most intricately made tiny little statue I've ever come across in order for it to justify $200 worth of like.
If you give that thing a full dick print, I'd pay $500 for it. But I know you didn't go that far.
Yeah, I feel like that might be a little outside of Square Enix's capabilities at this point. Or at least they're good ideas at this point. But yeah,
I mean, no one has talked about getting 19 inches of Sephiroth, so we know they don't know how to market.
Yeah, like obviously they missed that curtain call, or maybe just the fact that someone did it a week beforehand and they were like, you know what, we can't.
With Venom,
we can't just turn around and just copy paste the Venom system and just go from there. But like, I think this is the only thing out of the state of play that I saw that I actually really cared about all that much was just the Final Fantasy Rebirth trailer.
Vincent Valentine's in it.
What?
Vincent Valentine is in it.
Really?
So we finally get to see high def Vincent.
Nice. That's what you need. But yeah, like
that's what we need.
Sheer loss of capital does not excuse a $350 fucking 19-inch statue of Sephiroth.
I mean, personally, I'm just hoping their shares drop a little further because I'd like to say I own stock in Square Enix.
Yeah, no, that would be highly entertaining. However, you'd just be taking loss after loss, which is not necessarily the worst thing.
Depending how much it drops before I do that, it might not be a problem.
That's true. You might be buying it just to finish off the purchasing. Yeah, I don't know.
If I have any stocks in it, if the company goes under and has to sell all its assets, I profit from that.
And then, hey, look at that. You get 19 inches of Sephiroth anyway.
Yeah.
You'll get it the easy way, the hard way, but still.
Well, hard for them. It's pretty simple for me.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of losing money and problems with money, what the fuck is Unity doing? What exactly is going on with this? Because I keep hearing like two different stories. One is that Unity 100% turned around and were like, if you get past this point, then you have to pay us money. However, it also then turned around and was like, no, if you get past this point and then past this point, then you might have to pay us money.
There's 3 different subscription plans with Unity, to my understanding. And depending which plan you're on is how far you need to go in success before you owe them money. And from what I understand, like the most expensive subscription plan is you wouldn't pay in until you made like $1 million, basically.
Yeah. But like at the same time, you're still paying for it somewhere.
Yeah. But ultimately it's like with Unity out for years, for as long as I've known Unity to exist, has been this free game development software that was just easy to use and was where a lot of developers like cut their teeth, basically.
Yeah, that was how I understood it.
And now it's turning around and like, hey, we want to start cashing in on all of your success. It's kind of fucked.
Yeah, by the looks of it, they have come out recently and also said that some of the information people have interpreted out of it aren't quite right. In the fact that like they're not going to charge you if people reinstall the game and stuff like that, which was a big concern when it first kind of came out. I feel like there was a better way to gouge money out of people. All in all.
Well, it's just kind of, I mean, on the one hand, sure, you're using their software and they have creative rights over what can and can't be done with it, but at the same time, I can't imagine that they're not in any way making money, because from my understanding, the subscription plans have existed for a while for larger scale development. Like there's the free version and then there's subscription versions. So it's like, it's not like they themselves aren't already making money on these people who are basically just trying to get into the game industry. Yeah. But then basically be like, hey, anytime somebody else, if your game becomes highly successful to a point where all the people are all trying to jump in on it during this huge wave of success, which I imagine is probably what this is about. Like they're trying to cash in on the next Only Up or Among Us or something. Yeah. Where something just hits this record high out of nowhere. And then they decide that we're just going to start nickel and diming all of the successful downloads you've had. It's not right.
It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, look,
I could see a one-time purchase for the engine because that's what like Unreal does, but to nickel and dime someone for every download is excessive.
Yeah, look, this has always been the potential back issue when it comes to like anything subscription based, is that yes, they're charging you monthly anyway, but at some point there's no reason they couldn't start charging you at the other end. Like there's no reason Adobe couldn't turn around one day and be like, cool, for every thing you put out of Photoshop beyond like this one, you've got to start paying 5 cents on the export. Like it opens the door for a questionably large number of things to start nickel and diming you at the wrong end, and it's not a great system, because what are you going to do? Unity's been the like the baseline, like everybody, it's the entry level like game development software, and obviously it's come a long way since then. But I remember when like I played Flash games and games started coming out that were based in Unity. Like I remember when that started. I was playing the video games that were starting to come out on the platform at that point. And it just concerns me that like if we can get to this point with this company, then what happens with like other companies that offer subscriptions and decided they want in on the hype on the other end. Yeah, but like I don't know, it opens a lot of potential problems. I mean, like Cult of the Lamb, for example, is not the only one I've seen, but it is the one that I've currently got the article for. That have basically said like if you go through with this, then we'll just take the game down. Like
we'll just delete our game. Like
there's no reason we have to keep it here if you're gonna keep doing this, because then we'll just lose money.
Right. Which I mean, there's no incentive to my understanding to do this because of the fact that the game developers all still exist and Unity still exists. So clearly everyone is making enough money to exist. So why the fuck do they need to charge more?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it either. Yeah, like it's a concerning action. I'll give it that. It's a concerning action, and it breeds a potential future that none of us really want to think about, wherein we have to pay for our own output of like independent materials. Like it'd be the idea
when you've already won and you're still paying in dividends.
Yeah, like
I beat Bowser, but now it costs me 5 stars to actually see the credits.
Right? Or like, you've beat Bowser, but now you've got to pay 5 stars to get Princess Peach out of the castle. Like
I already won the game, dude. Leave me alone.
Like the quintessential like culmination point, which in the case of game developers is releasing and selling their game, has now been taxed effectively. And it's terrifying to think of if this decided to carry across into other industries. Are we looking at a future where in order for me to put out a video and put out one of these podcasts, I have to pay 80 cents per fucking podcast or $5 per fucking episode? Yeah, 80 cents a view. Like, am I going to start paying CPM backwards instead of earning it? Like instead of earning like a CPM and getting like, whatever the fucking thing is, I don't. But like as a streamer, I earn a CPM on ads. And are we just going to reverse that now and I have to pay the CPM? Is that the world we're headed into thanks to Unity's decision here? Like,
it's a possibility.
Apparently I had more to say about this than I thought I did. This was meant to be a quick one. Yeah, I don't know.
It's obviously just been building. It's been building in the back of your mind, like
the Sims.
Scary concept.
It has, and it's something that I didn't realize was sitting in the back of my head as a concept until very recently. But speaking of building, The Sims 5 being free to download is an interesting concept. Does that mean EA is going to give us 1,000 microtransactions again?
Well, to be fair, Sims 4 is already riddled with DLC, so they probably figured that this was the obvious outcome. Was we're gonna nickel and dime you. We're gonna charge you at every turn for every pack that we can think of. So you know what? Just take the game and we'll get our money later.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be free to play at launch and then afterwards, or if it's just going to be like. I mean,
it says right there. It says right there, like we'll won't begin with everything you have in Sims 4, but we'll add new experiences and content over time.
Yeah. And obviously we're going to have DLCs. It's EA. It's a Sims game. It's going to have DLCs. I'm just curious to keep an eye on if it's going to still be a free-to-play base game or not. Or if it's going to be free-to-play for like a week at launch. Or what it's going to be. I am also excited about the fact that they are leaving Sims 4 alone.
Right. Yeah, like at least they're not deleting the other game.
Yeah, Sims 4 is going to have like still going to have DLCs by the sound of it too. Like it'll
cost you $20 every time you download it.
Yeah, yes. But it looks like Sims 4 won't be taking over Sims 5. I did that backwards. Sims 5 won't be taking over Sims 4, but I don't know. Like it looks like there'll be to some extent will be still things coming out for Sims 4 for a while.
Hurrah!
But the two will exist side by side. It'd be really cool Would it be really cool? And here's a very specifically niche idea to The Sims.
Attack on Titan DLC for
if you could build something in Sims 4 and export it to Sims 5 almost seamlessly. Cool. So like if you've got a bunch of like DLCs for Sims 4 and you want to and if Sims 5 is going to have most of the base things, not necessarily all of it, but most of it, if you could make something in 4 with your DLCs and then port as a finished product that you can't necessarily break apart and use those pieces again would be fine, into Sims 5, so you can keep your aesthetics, but you still get to utilize all of Sims 5's like gameplay stuff with the aesthetics you had in 4 would be a neat idea, personally.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great idea. I also don't understand why it was called Project Renee, or why it's still called Project Renee.
Because they can't give you the official name of a game when they're copywriting and shit, because it has to be approved for copywriting.
Oh, is that why?
I assume so.
Huh. Good to know. Well, yeah.
Much like how the Halos usually go under things like Project Scorpion and shit. No, it was the Xbox. It was the Xbox itself that was Project Scorpion. But
yeah, the GameCube was.
They
Dolphin.
Can't give it. Yeah, they can't give it an outright name until that name is copyrighted, to my understanding.
It might just be simpler not to give it a name until it's been copyrighted.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Starfield for a second. Because these have been some gloomier topics. I mean, obviously we lifted a bit on Sims 5, but the first ones have been a bit weird. So let's go the other way to Starfield, try and modders trying to turn the game into Star Wars, which apparently there are entire teams out there slowly building each like planet from the Star Wars universe, or at least trying to. I
personally, if they actually do an entire Star Wars campaign that you can boot the game up with, I might consider it like an absolute necessary to download it.
I would be interested.
I'm curious because I mean, it would be a Star Wars game where you're not a Jedi, I feel.
Yeah, it would have to be.
And that's like, how often do we see that?
we get the diamond. They're one in a million for sure. Because every time they're like, "Oh, Star Wars game, you want to be a Jedi, right?" Right?
I mean, I don't want to always be a Jedi, but I also don't want to fight Jedi, because if I'm not a Jedi and I'm fighting Jedi, that's not going to be very fair. And if it is fair, then that wasn't a very realistic Jedi.
And if it is fair, then that means I'm a Sith, and I didn't want that either.
I mean, I'm cool with being a Sith. I just don't want... I feel like if I'm against a lightsaber and I don't have one, I should lose. Yeah. So if I win, it doesn't feel right.
I've never entirely understood the concept of winning a lightsaber battle with a blaster. Yeah, like it'd be a cool concept. I look, if there's one thing the Star Wars community has that I wish the Star Trek community has, it's this. Because as a massive Star Trek nerd, but not a huge fan of Star Wars, I mean, it's fine, but like, it's not the be all and end all. I would like this done by like Star Trek nerds, because I want to see what happens if you build the fucking Enterprise. Like, it could be fun. So, you know, if anybody out there is ever listening and wants to get really into modding Starfield, I will buy and play Starfield if you can create a working version of the US Enterprise.
Meanwhile, you know, it's just, you know, some developer announces a new Star Wars game and is like, we're going to make a Star Wars game. You know what that means? You're going to be a Jedi and we're going to Tatooine.
Yeah, look, there's nothing else. There's no other option here. At some point, you've got to end up in the sand and you've got to have a lightsaber.
It's an eternally, infinitely expanding universe with all manner of planets that have been barely touched upon. We're going to fucking Tatooine.
That, or I have seen that apparently building Mustafa is quite popular.
Mustafa system.
It took me a minute to realize to remember what the name of fucking melty Bernie planet that Anakin lives on is called.
I mean, he had both his legs chopped off and almost burned alive there. So of course he decided to live there because he's the most dramatic queen in the universe.
He is the queen of drama. Where would you like to step to from? Well, we've already talked about EA. We could cycle back to EA real quick.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, like
this particular bit actually upsets me because the game itself looked cool.
I was really excited for Immortals
because it's a first-person shooter. It's a first-person shooter, but instead of a gun, you have various types of magic.
Yeah, which I was super excited for.
It looked really pretty, and I mean, as it says in the article, though, it was it might have just been a misfire in that they put it in the same month and relatively close to both Armored Core 6 and Starfield.
Yeah, like EA really didn't think through Immortals of Avium timing wise. If they dropped it in September, I feel like enough people would have removed past Diablo, Remnant, Baldur's Gate, Starfield, at least on a first playthrough, to get excited about something else enough again.
I mean, if they decided to drop in September, though, they would have been competing with Lies of P.
Yeah, but I feel like these are two different audience points.
And
I feel like Lies of P
and the Cyberpunk 2077 DLC.
That one might have been more of a concern, but also Cyberpunk did the same thing where it ruined itself on release day. So the number of people still playing Cyberpunk is not terribly low, but it would be less of a problem than the amount of people currently playing Starfield.
Which in a bit of a bonus bit of information on that, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty comes out on the 25th of September. And it will be the only DLC for Cyberpunk, purely because CD Projekt Red is moving to a different engine in order to develop Witcher 4.
And apparently it will be very taxing on 8-core CPUs. So be careful, because you might melt yourself.
Oh yeah, people have there have been posts from the developers on the now branded X to make sure your cooling units are up to snuff.
Yeah. Apparently it will use as much CPU as it physically can. But back to the initial conversation about EA. Yeah, like I feel like they probably could have got in September, and enough people who are excited about FPS style games like this would have had their attention back to new releases, more so than releasing in the middle of like Starfield, which obviously is got enough of that quality that most FPS gamers are going to enjoy. And obviously Remnant, which I'm assuming a decent number would be kind of tiered towards a little bit.
I mean, Remnant didn't come out in August, did it? It came out in July. It was the end of July.
Was it? I thought it was August.
No, it was the end of July.
Whatever.
That's why it was. That was why it was impressive that it overtook Diablo in sales, because it had 1 week to do it.
Yes. That's probably why I'm blurring it into being August, is because it was so close to the end of July. But yeah, like there's definitely probably 1,000 ways they could have helped themselves here. I will probably still try and get a hold of it. It's still free to play, isn't it?
No, it's not free to play. It's a full game.
Oh, I thought it came out free to play. I might still consider picking it up. Mind you, they just laid off 40 people because of it, so I'm not sure I really want to support them.
Well, it suffers performance-wise on PC, to my understanding, which seems to be a common situation lately.
Yeah, look, nobody can build games for PC right now.
Like, I think everyone's too focused on PS5, Xbox Series X to consider PC performance at this point. Which is
weird as fuck, really, when you think about it. When, like, I mean, it hasn't been that way for a while, but originally core gaming was PC. Like, that was your market, and then you ported shit out afterwards. And I just feel like we ended up backwards somewhere, and we just kind of forgot how to make stuff. However, I feel like fuck, what am I trying to say here? Yeah, I feel like because of the recent uptick in consoles and stuff like that, there's definitely a bit more focus on making them console specific, but it shouldn't be that hard for, especially for
considering
like your PlayStation 5 and your Series X. Like this
is unrelated. Like this is unrelated, but considering how voice actors are now mocapped, like their characters are now molded after them to create them to make the voice look more natural when it comes out of the face.
Oh yes, yeah.
I feel like I know that actress. Doesn't she look familiar?
Yeah, she looks like the chick that played Michael Burnham in Star Trek Discovery. I don't know what else I'd know her from. The dude behind her kind of looks familiar too.
The guy behind her is the main character. That's the person you play, to my knowledge. But yeah, like I feel like just she in general looks very familiar.
Yeah, now I'm curious. All right, I can pull this up over here. Looks to be. Excuse me. Can I have a name for any of these characters, please?
For real. I mean, it looks like there's names down below, but they don't exactly include pictures with the names to say who's who.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm stuck. Okay, give me a sec. Let's try this again. It's Gina Torres.
Oh, good.
From the Matrix. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, Gina Torres. She was in Suits. I know her from Suits and from Firefly, I think.
Yeah, like I'm like I know that face. Why do I know that face?
Yeah, 100%. You are 1,000% correct. I didn't look long enough to process, but yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't know who this dude in the background is, but he kind of looks like Mac from Always Sunny.
and to bring up the concept of mocapping people's faces for their voices.
Yeah.
I recall in the original Spider-Man on the PS4, there was an uproar because they took the original model and they replaced it with Yuri Lowenthal's face for the remaster on PS5, and because he had like the perfect design, and then you swap the face out entirely in the re-release, and it just felt weird.
I mean, that's valid. If you're gonna do it for both at best. Which obviously we've come a long way in technology in the meantime, but you know. Speaking of coming a long way, how did Dead by Daylight get to having Alien in it? Why are we here now? I still don't understand why they got Nicolas Cage, but why have we got aliens?
Have you heard any of his voice lines? It is so good.
No.
Apparently one of his abilities is he like legit taunts the killer, and he just goes, "You can't fucking kill me. I'm Nick fucking Cage. I'm gonna live forever."
I'm trying to.
It is the most unhinged bullshit I've ever heard. I love it.
I'm just having a look at the trailer for a second. He does seem to do a lot of shouting.
And an aptitude for the subtle art of subterfuge.
Yeah, he also has a thing where he like literally just drops on the ground and plays dead. He's so ridiculous.
Look, I absolutely adore Nicolas Cage. I think he's fucking great. But like, I still don't understand why he's in Dead by Daylight. I haven't played DBD in a long time. I haven't played DBD in a very long time, but at least, see, I thought, and this is only because I only vaguely like looked at the release information for Nicolas Cage. I very, very seriously for a second thought he was a new killer.
I was honestly hoping he was going to be a killer.
And I was waiting for the onslaught of the internet to turn Nicolas Cage into the next Shia LaBeouf.
I thought that would have been great.
Legendary serial killer. Like
Super Rio Cannibal Nicolas Cage.
exactly. Like I was waiting for it and it never came and I got so mad. But yeah, I mean, look, the Xenomorph as a killer makes sense. I was worried it was going to be a thing for a minute. It looks...
I wanted it. I wanted him as the killer.
Yeah, me too. It looks okay. See, I'm not a huge one for DBD, but I know a lot of people who are. And I just hope that instead of hooks in whatever world it gets as like a base, I think that's how DBD still works. Instead of hooks, you put them in like you attach a face hugger to their head and put them up on a shelf.
I'm sure face huggers are probably involved somehow, but
that would be the quintessential for me.
And you just put them up on in the flesh wall.
Yeah. Or even in like a pod, like a spaceship pod thing. Yeah, it's pretty for sure. I'll give it that. But yeah, I don't know.
Blind it with a flashlight? It doesn't have eyes.
How do you blind something with slits for eyes? But yeah, no, I mean, look, it's exciting especially for those who play DBD. I played for a little bit and then kind of stopped for a while. But it's not too bad. What happened to X Defiant? I'm sure you know more about this than I do.
I guess they wanted to release it on PlayStation and Xbox, and both of them denied the license.
Imagine being a company as big as Ubisoft and not getting and not being able to get games just standardly passed at this point. Yeah, it looks like there's something in here about potentially needing a day one patch. I'm guessing to give it its whatever it needs to pass the accreditation.
Smash Bros with guns.
Is that what this game is? Oh god, that's what the title.
That's what it says on the trailer.
Yeah.
And a lot of. So we have.
There's linear.
I'm trying to glean anything from this context. Yeah, I guess Smash Bros with guns is one way to call it.
I mean, I don't really know how it qualifies itself as that over any other shooter, but whatever.
Yeah, now I need to look it up.
I can't tell if it was denied because of how buggy it might be. It's just because it says something about like a day one patch or whatever in the article, but I just know that it was denied certification on PlayStation and Xbox, and
if we were following the standard rules for game releases, we would have set a date far enough in advance with enough buffer to a confident release date. However, like a lot of things with this game, we've not chosen the typical route. So basically, they fucked themselves from the get-go.
Right.
There was no way this was going to go well. A million people play your game before it is ready is not normal. Not being afraid to show unfinished, blah, 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 blah. These are real tests, not just marketing events. So when it comes to when we release...
Yeah, I don't think it actually says anything about... I don't think it actually says anything about why they were denied. Just the fact that they were denied.
Failing the first submission is normal and pretty much expected in any games. So our later this summer window hasn't been moved on. Okay. Yeah, it legitimately... It doesn't want to tell me.
Oh, good. I was kind of...
But I do want...
hoping it would actually say as to why.
I do want the... Actually, no, I'll take the overview trailer.
Peggy 16.
Peggy 16. Mostly because I just want to know what makes it the Smash Bros.
A free-to-play competitive shooter.
Is it because it's like elimination style, scoring from eliminations? I don't...
So,
it's an arena shooter. That's all I got.
Yeah, with flamethrowers. Congratulations. And invisibility and shields.
So it's because everyone's got special weapons. So it's Overwatch. It's not Smash Bros.
Yeah.
And during the game, you can change your faction or loadout.
You can change faction and loadout mid-game.
To adapt your strategy.
My team's losing. Fuck you.
Yeah, basically.
Choose from a large arsenal of weapons and attachments to customize and fit your playstyle.
Like, isn't this the game that everyone was like, oh, it's going to be the new COD. It's taking down COD. COD's going to die. I think I remember that.
I mean, I'd be willing to play this over COD.
A shooter.
Just because it doesn't have the generalized stigma of being COD. And the maps look really cool. All they need to do is make sure that the zoom map has animals that you can like hide behind or that make noises occasionally, and I'll be sold.
Casual matches
Kind of throw people off.
Players of all types and skills, where every match delivers an unpredictable and unique experience.
It's kind of just, it's just a shooter.
It is. But no, I just noticed like with like the ducking and like side shifting and shit with their shooter. It's like this is COD.
Yeah, no, it basically is. Yeah, I don't know. You sent me this and I couldn't decide how I felt about the Gran Turismo poster thing, being that like a fan decided to make it from gamer to racist instead of from gamer to racer, and the Roku streaming app decided that was the right one to use.
Yeah, apparently. Like,
yeah. Which, to be fair, they're almost an identical image. So the only thing that if it's picking up on like various bits and pieces, the only thing it didn't pick up was the fact that the letters have changed. But like
the fact that that's actually in there now.
Yeah, that's a little bit problematic. But that's
Roku.
fine.
Roku, come on.
Like,
come on, Roku.
Yeah, come on, Roku. You can do better. Okay, let's circle back. We've been at this for about almost an hour. Cool. Nintendo Direct. So I guess
Mario RPG.
Yeah, we're gonna start here. So the first thing I want to say is remaster and remaster and remaster, and maybe a few more remasters. Because I mean, we're getting
Mario RPG looks fucking phenomenal, and Princess Peach has a game where she doesn't cry all the time. Yeah, look, that looks great. Like Princess Peach Showtime looks astounding. I'm not going to watch the trailers. I just want to talk about the bits that I know. And the Paper Mario 1000 Year Door looks solid. I don't really know why we're coming back for Mario vs. Donkey Kong again. Because it was widely successful, even though it was, specifically on the DS when it got its launch. Or no, it was Game Boy Advance. Oh, hey, it's coming with like local co-op play. So honestly, that's sold me more than anything else. Splatoon 3 is getting an expansion pass. I don't know what another Code Recollection is. I haven't really looked into that one. But it's a sequel to a Wii game. I just know that Super Princess Peach up until now was the only game that Peach had that was specifically hers on the Nintendo DS, I want to say, and she legitimately fought with her emotions. Like, she got angry and cried. Jesus. Well, now she has a sword and is a swashbuckler, so that's cool. Well, from what I understand, like Showtime has multiple costumes that you go through that give her different powers, and I feel like that's a much better representation this time around. Detective Peach and Kung Fu Peach might be my favorite names for Peach so far. Detective Pikachu, we got a new trailer for that. And look, it looks like a Detective Pikachu game. I'll give it that. And the 3DS Luigi's Mansion is getting a remake, it's a remaster. I feel is almost worth it. Luigi's Mansion is like the one game that everybody always tells me about. They're always like, "Did you play Luigi's Mansion?" Like every fucking time. That's what I hear. The downside to that is Luigi's Mansion 1 was this huge open mansion, and you could explore it and unlock different powers, Metroidvania style, to get around more and more. Luigi's Mansion 3 continued that trend only after Luigi's Mansion 2 turned the whole thing into episodic missions like Monster Hunter. Oh, so the one they're remaking is the shit one? Well, that's the only one that was on a handheld. Oh, well, that'd be about right. F-Zero 99, cool. We're getting another racing battle game, which Battle Royale. Yeah. WarioWare Move It, I'm excited about. Why like to move it? Why like to move it? Because WarioWare games are always entertaining. Yeah, it's like Rhythm Royale.
Yeah, and it's promising more than 200 micro games, and it's a return to couch co-op effectively. Like, but also you can play online. So, you know, I'm sold. Mario Kart 8, the last DLC, I believe it's the last one. And I know absolutely fucking nothing about the rest of them. However, Unicorn Overlord sounds like a great name for anything ever. And I feel like I should probably have found out what it was, but I missed that one. Trombone Champ.
I think it's a tactics game.
Oh, probably, yeah. Trombone Champ is coming to Nintendo Switch, which is entertaining. And the Tomb Raider remaster, which we all knew was coming, is very exciting. If you
Prince of Persia still exists.
I don't understand how Prince of Persia is still a thing.
And from what I understand, that one went MIA for a while, and then suddenly pops up out of nowhere. They're like, "Yeah, we're still doing stuff with the IP."
That's because after Sands of Time, they then made the movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, which honestly which honestly was kind of subpar at best. And then nobody cared after that because Sands of Time was an amazing game, and then the movie was shit. And we all just gave up. So they're just quietly in the background. We're like, look, we'll just keep making side scrollers now instead of going for like the first person action, which apparently is what this one's coming back to. And then more car games, because apparently Nintendo's really big right now on putting out games that are very, very similar stylistically speaking to like retro gaming, because apparently remastering everything is a requirement.
Yeah, I
don't know why, but apparently that's the world we live in. So if you've got any particular remasters or remakes that you as an individual would be interested in, then I don't know, leave a comment below and let us know. And obviously, as we'll round this off on the end with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC, having gender neutral restrooms, which is progress for Nintendo.
Identity.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I kind of forgot that Scarlet and Violet had a DLC out, to be perfectly honest, or have a DLC out.
There's 2 DLCs. This one just came out,
yeah,
and there's another one coming later,
before.
which will add the terrestrialized turtle.
Oh yay. But yeah, so that's pretty cool, having gender neutral bathrooms in the end. So just some good news there to round it off. And apparently Blood Moon. Was Blood Moon the name of, no, it was Desert something, wasn't it? That game that was ridiculous that we're excited about from like Gamescom.
Crimson Desert.
I went to go look it up. It's not even got like a wish list now page on Steam yet.
But yeah, that Blood Moon, that was Apex Legends.
Ah, yes, that would make more sense.
Pretty sure that was probably their Halloween event or whatever.
Oh.
Because we're coming up. It's coming up on spooky season.
Spooky season. I'm so fucking keen. So fucking keen. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Yeah.
And thank you for checking out the podcast on whatever platform you happen to be. Leave us a like and a feedback or a review or whatever you like on whatever platform you happen to be watching. You can always come check it out live on twitch.tv/Yaslanagrey on Saturdays if you'd like. You got anything exciting to say, bud?
Not off the top of my head. Thanks all for watching.
Excellent. Thank you very much for being here. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.